Welcome to another Taylor Newsbreak. I'm Carl Zymak. Our production crew behind the scenes is Samantha Rickert and Joe Camilleri. Today, we're going to discuss the recent Heritage Park Cleanup Day with its founder, my friend, creator, Jim Taylor. Afternoon, Jim.
Hi, Carl.
It's good to have you here for the show.
It's nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
How are things going? Do you want to give a shout out to your wife, because I know she's playing a little bit of invalid these days?
Yes, I'd like to say hi to my wife, Karen, who is at home right now. She was unable to attend the Heritage Park cleanup this year because she has a broken leg. So.
And we're not going to get too deep into that, right?
No, we're not.
Okay, exactly. Most recent cleanup occurred on Saturday, April the 23rd.
Yeah.
This was what, number 5, 6,
7?
7.
Okay. Actually, yeah.
And the pandemic and the weather has caused some hiccups.
It did.
In our schedule.
We had our first cleanup in 2014. We did 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Then in 2019, the park was flooded. There was so much water.
There was a lot of water.
It just was not practical. And then, of course, 2020 was COVID.
Right.
But we came back in 2021 with number 6, and this was number 7.
How many people attended this year, and what's been the biggest turnout overall?
We had about 50 people in attendance this year.
Okay.
The biggest turnout was actually the first one.
Right.
In 2014, we had, I think the number was 267
That was amazing.
It was great. We did a lot of promotion. We had a lot of giveaways, prize drawings, raffles. We had food, donuts, coffee, and it was gratifying because families were showing up, pushing kids in strollers, bringing the elementary school kids, and that's the beauty of this to me is teaching children these values. This is important. When they see grown-ups out there doing this, that carries over.
What did you think headed into this year's cleanup and coming out of this year's cleanup? What did you think of the overall condition of the park? Because you're one of the people that we can go to and really talk shop, because you really pay attention to a lot of areas that maybe a lot of other people don't.
I do. I'm fortunate enough to live just a couple of blocks from the park, and I go there pretty frequently. I walk there with my dogs. I get into the woods. I go into the trails. The park, actually, the very first year we did it, in 2014, there was a lot of accumulation. We took, I think, dump truck loads of trash out of there.
Wasn't it like 15 dump truck loads or something like that?
I think it was 5 maybe.
Yeah,
it was huge.
Yeah.
It was a huge amount of garbage bags of trash. And really that addressed a lot of the backlog. And every year since then, there's been less to pick up. We've kind of hit a maintenance level now, I think. There's always going to be some, of course, after winter especially, which is why we do it in the spring.
Right.
And the chief accumulation points are the tree lines and the fence lines. Right. 365 acres of beautiful park. Most of it is short mown grass, the soccer fields, the baseball fields. Not much stops there, and if it does, our parks crew pick it up before they mow. Sure. So it's the tree lines, the fence lines, and of course, lately, the last couple of years, the puddles, which are everywhere.
Right.
And once something blows into there, a water bottle or a trash bag, it doesn't blow back out.
I know there's been some discussions. We won't get to the end of it, but when it comes to park flooding, I know Heritage Park does. It's so big, the undulations, all of that stuff. There is a drainage issue with the park, no matter how you cut it, it seems like. I think there were some ideas out there, but that's going to take some money. It might take some changing of road classifications if they wanted to go down that route.
Sure.
But you're right. You're right about that. Ducks have a field day.
Well, I think the last couple of years have just been unusually wet.
Right.
I have standing water in my yard. My neighbors do. Friends in Dearborn, friends in Trenton. It's pretty universal. I'm hoping this is going to be a little drier summer and things will get back to a more normal water level.
I know traditionally the worst catch portions when it came to debris were like Cone Lake and naturally the tree line between the park and WC3's property.
Sure.
Is that what you saw?
Yeah, pretty much. Actually, Cone Lake was in pretty good shape.
That water has stayed high recently.
It has, and we really didn't address that. There was really no need to. Our parks crew does such a fantastic job.
They have been doing a very good job.
It's great to do this cleanup. It's really nice, but these are the guys that are out there every day doing maintenance. It's
Right.
always harder to do the day-to-day down in the trenches maintenance, and they do a great job. So we focused our efforts on the tree lines, on the fence lines, on the puddles,
Right.
and oh my gosh, I actually got Karen out of her wheelchair into the
Okay.
van, and we drove through the park afterwards, and it was just spotless.
Which is fantastic.
It's
Which
that's
is,
what it's all about.
It's very gratifying. Any special shout outs to particular volunteers or groups that went above and beyond?
Well, I mean, not any. I can't single anyone out.
Right.
I
Okay.
mean, I shout out to the parks crew because of the maintenance they do, and of course they're there also. They're picking up all the bags. They're providing the bags. They're providing the trash grabbers, the buckets. I mean, they're the backbone of this thing. But the volunteers, I mean. Here we are, 7 years with a 2-year hiatus.
Right.
So this has been going on over a 9-year period of time, and we announce it, and people show up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I really like about living in Taylor.
Right.
It's a big city, but it's still got that community, small town participation feel.
There's definitely a small town feel, and there's definitely a volunteerism out there that you don't see everywhere. You see it a lot downriver, okay?
You do.
But in Taylor, when people see something that needs to get done, they're not scared to kind of put on the boots and things like that and get it done.
That's true. And 50 volunteers out there for an hour and 10 minutes to maybe an hour and a half. There were some maybe that stuck it out for 2 hours, depending on what area they were in.
Sure.
But what a difference.
Yeah.
50 people, and
Right.
it just looks fantastic.
Makes a huge difference. Let's go back a little in time,
Yeah.
okay, to back when we were a little younger, you and I.
Yeah.
This idea actually started during the winter of 13-14. Can you walk the audience through that? Because that's an interesting story. Go ahead.
Well, I walk my dogs up there a lot,
Right.
and oftentimes I'll just take a grocery bag with me, and I'll pick up a dozen pieces of litter, the fast food wrapper, the water bottle, the stray can, whatever. And so one time I thought, geez, maybe I should leave the dogs home. I actually took a nail and pounded it into the end of a dowel rod,
Okay.
and sharpened it and used that as a trash stabbing stick.
You are an engineer forever, you know?
Well, yeah, that's about the extent of my engineering, is a nail and a stick. But I went out and picked up. I started with a garbage bag full of trash, and I was back deep into the woods, waiting around in the muck like a crazy man. And Dave Gorgon, bless his heart, the Taylor photo of the day guy, was out there taking the Taylor photo of the day, and he said, "Jim, is that you back there?" I said, "Yeah, Dave." He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm picking up trash." And he thought that was a little strange, but we got to talking about it, and I said, if I just had a few people to help me, and I'm thinking like a dozen, we could really make a difference. And I had, over the course of a few weekends, I'd taken 13 bags of trash out of that area.
Which is amazing.
It is, and this was pretty well filled bags, because it was pretty much lightweight stuff.
Right.
So Dave and I got to talking about it. We started doing some promotion of the idea, and then I decided to chat with then Mayor Rick Solers,
Right.
and he kind of ran on a platform of volunteerism. I thought, well, let me see what this guy thinks.
Yeah.
And he was fully supportive. He threw the city resources behind it, and my idea was, let's talk to some of the merchants in the city and see if they would donate gift certificates, and we'll have a raffle.
Right.
And that way, not everybody gets something, but everybody's got a chance to get something.
Right.
And it, like I said, 267 volunteers the first year. It just kind of took off.
That's amazing. Back at that time, that particular cleanup day seemed to start a bevy of cleanups across town. Okay, we had the one on Monroe at the viaduct that cleaned up graffiti and did some things there.
Yeah.
Telegraph Road had a couple. Eureka had a couple. You were involved in the Frank and Poet drain cleanups
Sure.
on a couple of occasions.
Yeah.
Allen Road, eventually we've seen volunteer efforts in places like Northwest Park. And you've been part of some of those. Did you get a good feeling from not only that Heritage Park cleanup, but the way they kind of expanded?
Yeah, and certainly I'm not going to take credit for that. I mean, our councilman Charlie Johnson.
Yeah, I remember Charlie really
those.
got in, and Alex Garza, when he was in office, he got into that first one with Charlie, and
sure,
and
our city clerk,
sure.
Cindy does the cemetery cleanups.
Yes.
I've done a few of those.
Right.
But I'll tell you what is gratifying is just participating.
Sure.
You get out there and do this, and you really feel good about yourself.
Right.
You feel like you've done something good for your community, for the environment. It's really a lot of fun. People think you're picking up trash. No, it's fun. It's satisfying and fulfilling.
And I understand our current mayor, Tim Woolley, visited this one.
He did. Bless his heart. He stopped on his way to a funeral.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that shows. That's the city of Taylor. That's the spirit that we have in this community. He stopped and said, "Thank you for coming out, everybody. I wish I could stay. I can't for obvious reasons."
Right.
So what more can you ask for?
Oh yeah, exactly. For residents who might want to start to clean up their own neighborhood park or street, how would you suggest that they proceed with something like that?
Well, there's a couple different ways. They could contact you, for instance, Carl.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
They can certainly
Yeah.
call me. My
Right.
phone number is always up
Right.
during the
Right.
Heritage Park cleanup. So they can approach the city and try and get it, supported and organized.
Right.
But the real way to start is just get out there and do it.
Yeah.
If you've got a homeowners association, or even if you don't, in my neighborhood, 139 houses in our subdivision, and you ask for anything and they are supportive. It's astonishing what people will do if you just ask.
Sure.
And we kind of forget that. We kind of forget that people are willing to help. All you have to do is ask, and you'd be pleasantly surprised, I think.
Same goes with some of the businesses around town too. You walk in with an idea like that,
Yes.
and all of a sudden they seem to perk. Because they know that for many times, for just a little here or a little there, they can get a lot of good word out.
They can, and they've been tremendously supportive over the years. We've had some highly successful events, and quite frankly, COVID kind of changed our cleanup model, like it changed a lot of things.
Sure.
We had to scale back. Well, we had to postpone one year, and then we kind of scaled back. Said, look, for social distancing reasons, let's not do the drawings and the raffles and the coffee and the donuts and everything. And still, people showed up, and still the park got clean.
Sure. For those who want to get in, it's awfully early since we just did this one.
Yeah.
But for those people out there who may not have ever done a Heritage Park cleanup, and they're watching this and they're saying, "Hey, next year I'd like to get involved." What would you suggest? Where the social media? What?
Sure, social media, the city portal, the city website portal is an excellent place to monitor.
Right.
And watch the electronic signs at the parks. We get that information up. We have kind of lawn signs that we put out typically a couple of weeks now. This year, with my wife breaking her leg, things got a little crazy, and I didn't get the signs up until Easter Sunday, a week before the cleanup.
Right.
But again, people showed up. But yeah, monitor the parks, monitor the signs, monitor social media. We get the word out there. Sometimes we even get a little shout out in the News Herald and the local media. So yeah, there's plenty of ways to find out.
Think we'll be looking again at April next year? Or
I think that seems to be a pretty good time frame.
Yeah.
The downside is, April showers.
Yes.
It can be standing water. It can be rain. The first year.
Can be pretty.
The first year it rained, and I think it was in the upper 40s.
Right.
And we had 267 people.
Yeah, those were diehards that year.
It is. But, if you wait much longer than that, the park starts to get busy with, soccer games and little league games, and it gets a little more congested and a little more difficult to not interfere with the good time everybody's having at the great park.
Exactly. Jim, I want to thank you for coming in today. You've always been a pleasure to work with.
Thank you.
Pleasure to have right down the street.
Yeah.
Viewers, stick around because we're going to show you scenes from this year's effort and how a dedicated group of volunteers can make a difference in their community.